a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location here in the newest battleground state of Colorado. Here we speak the truth, the whole truth, the nothing but the truth. So help us God. My name is Nicholas Rosdo, and without further ado, I present to you at all our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez. Ray, give it up for the Hispanic Patriots.
All right, welcome everybody. Aloha, as they say in the great state of Hawaii. We are here tonight for another edition of the Hispanic Patriot. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope to fill your minds with some really good information tonight. But as always, when we start, you're watching us on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. This is a show that's evolving, and we're going to be able to create some new opportunities for you to watch the show in different formats. So stay tuned. But for now, hit that click that like button and subscribe. That helps our algorithm and get our message out. So welcome again. Here we are, 13 days from the election. 13 days. Warning, Will Robinson. Danger.
It's time to get motivated and aware, folks. It's getting closer and closer.
Yeah. Well, there's some good news and there's some good news. The good news is more Republicans are voting early in 2024. Some accounts are showing that more than 20 million ballots have already been cast. And you figure the election last time, there was a total of 150 million, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. So if you think about it, 20 million is about 15% of the ballots have already been cast. Compared to the last election. Now, we're anticipating, of course, that, there's going to be a higher turnout this time around. Not only because we have newer voters, we have some young voters that are voting for the first time. We have some voters that have never voted before. And it's indicative of the importance of this election. President Trump is working around the clock while Kamala is taking breaks. So
she's almost sleepier than Joe at this point with how much she does.
Well, I think President Trump was on a newscast, or he was on some event, and he basically called her what she is, lazy. He said, "This is the person you want for president?" Taking days off, 13 days before an election. He's got his pedal to the metal, and he is nonstop. So, tell me again, who has the energy?
Absolutely. Anybody who wants proof, just go to Donald Trump's social media and see how many rallies he does. Not a week, but a day. I mean, he was here in Colorado from 1 p.m. or such to 6 p.m. He was on a plane to Nevada right after. Yep. I mean, that man, and he's famous for not sleeping, but Joe Biden had an excuse. He was sleepy. He was an old man, not an old man like Hugo over here. He puts men like Joe Biden to shame, but he had an excuse. Kamala has no excuse. She's supposed to be the young, energetic generation. This young, energetic generation, supposedly, it looks sleepier than the one it's replacing, supposedly.
Yeah, I think she's seeing the handwriting on the wall personally, but we'll see how it goes. We're gonna
be pushing how it goes.
We're gonna hopefully be in a nice hotel somewhere on election night, and enjoying the festivities and mocking the media and any other liberals that are hanging around.
As my mom used to say, they like it.
They like it.
They like it
a lot.
The media loves it. They wouldn't become paparazzi if they didn't get off on getting harassed, legally speaking, of course, in a friendly manner.
Yep. Well, the numbers are good. The numbers are strong. There are some issues taking place already that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, but overall, the early turnouts are encouraging, and it just continues to roll. So I'm guessing by this time next week, I would be shocked if we didn't have over half the voters already voted, because you're talking, we're at 23 million plus now, and today is Wednesday. So you figure that, you're going out there in the next 1, 2, 3, say before our next show next Wednesday, which will be our final show before the election. And we have a very special guest for that as well.
Yes, look out for that.
So I think it's going to just pick up steam as we go. It's like a big snowball. It's starting to roll. And as it rolls down, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, we're crushing everybody in our path.
Well, and I love your analogy, Hugo, because honestly, I want everybody to go look at the numbers for early voting. Last election versus this election, it's nowhere close. Republicans are coming in, early and like they never have before. So with Hugo's analogy, Democrats have a sort of binary election side. They early voting when the people pick up the ballots for early voting, and then election day when the ballot harvesting happens. But for Republicans, we have this ability to say, hey, look at how well we're doing. Republicans love to contribute to winning causes when they see their fellow Republicans getting into it like that. I have not seen this much energy before election day in a long time. I don't know about you, Hugo. You've seen more election nights than I have.
No, that's the truth. Historically, Republicans have waited till election day for the most part.
We're not waiting this time all the time.
And the reports coming out right now is that we're basically running 50-50 Democrat to Republican, which has never happened. It's always been, at this time in the game, Democrats have always been so far ahead in voting. This time around, we're matching them, and I believe we're going to overtake them. States like Nevada, where Democrats have for decades relied on a very robust early vote to counter the GOP on election day, about 6,000 more Republicans than Democrats had cast early ballots as of October 22nd, which is today. No, that was yesterday. So, we've got a lot going on. The data is coming in. Arizona, another battleground state, 38,000 more Republicans than Democrats have cast early ballots.
That's amazing.
And the surge in 2020 Democratic early voting was largely a reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic that no longer exists. So there are several factors that are much different than 2020. Number one, of course, COVID. Number two, the president put out this marching order, so to speak, and said, everybody get out and vote when you get your ballots. Don't wait for election day. So,
and it makes it harder for election fraud. That's a huge thing we probably want to say. It's easier to fraud when you have a whole system set up for it. But if everyone's voting early, across the early voting time period, it's harder to mess with that vote, honestly. Harder to counter.
Yeah. So, states are opening up. There'll be more opening this weekend for early voting. The hurricane has affected, it's interestingly enough, some of these states that have been affected by the hurricane are showing some tremendous numbers in voting because the people are not going to be deterred.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, especially with the big middle finger our government has given them. You know?
Well, one of the things that I read he said Republicans are crawling over glass and rocks to get to the ballots. And that shows me that the message has gotten out.
Oh, if that don't warm your heart.
Yep. They're just not going to sit around and take it this year. So I'm encouraged. I believe that we're going to see more good news as the days and weeks roll along. Well, we only had a week and a half, less than 2 weeks.
So days and week.
Days. Let's just say days. In the coming days, I want to see how we're doing next week, and we'll try to get you as accurate a numbers as we can. But if you're out there listening, do not wait to vote. Get that ballot filled out and turned in. Hand carry it. If you're in Colorado, hand carry it to your ballot box, one of the local collection boxes. They're secure. Do not put your ballot in the mail.
No.
I strongly urge you to not put your ballot in the mail. And don't wait till election day, people.
Yeah.
I know some of you have this thing about, I always vote on election day, and that's my tradition. Well, it's time to kill that tradition. It's time to put the ballots in.
Life isn't so sure anymore that you can make sure that that's a day that you have.
It's like one of the hosts that I was listening to on a show says, you don't know what can happen between now and election day. You might get in a car accident.
You might die and end up voting Democrat. That's the problem. You don't want that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible we have to say it like that. But...
God forbid. But yeah, I have it in my will that when I die, I am not allowed to vote Democrat. So it's already written in, and my family will carry that out.
Remind me to get in contact with your notary after the show, Hugo. Being from Chicago, they might try to make me vote twice in 2 different states.
Yep. All right. Another bit of big news that came out today and totally surprised even President Trump.
Oh, man, yeah.
At a Republican Party rally for Trump, Tulsi Gabbard announces she is joining the Republican Party.
Welcome, Miss Tulsi Gabbard. Welcome.
I was wondering how long it was going to take her because she's already a Republican. She just
needed
to make it
Hawaiian music at the beginning. We welcome her with that.
She needed to make it official, and she did today. And you should have seen the look on President Trump's face when she announced it. He was like, even he didn't know it, and that's amazing that you could keep something like that from President Trump.
Yeah, that says a lot about her experience, honestly.
And of course, you know what's going to happen, right? The left-wing media is going to go bonkers now and attacking her with everything they've got. But you know what?
Yeah,
she is a fighter veteran, and she is not going to be intimidated by the media. That's for sure.
No,
I've seen her on too many of these CNN and other MSNBC shows where they try to shame her or try to put her down, and basically she just gives as good as she takes. She will not be intimidated by those
she belongs
clowns.
with us then, you know what I mean? If that's her values and that's what she had, yep, she found her way home, and hey, a lot of independents are right now,
Yep.
Under different circumstances, who knows? Maybe Bernie Sanders would become a Republican. Or not Bernie Sanders. Gosh, no, probably not. But Joe Biden might become a Republican by the end of the year. Who knows?
Yep. So it's gonna. I have a feeling. I don't know how you think, but I think I'm pretty sure she's going to end up with a cabinet position in Trump's administration. And I believe,
please.
I believe this kind of goes along with that because I think she wants a cabinet position, depending on what it might be. Secretary of Defense might be great for her. She sure knows a lot about the military.
Or in the intelligence sector, because that was a question whether, if is RFK going to go into something with health or something with.
Well, RFK, I think, is slated for health for sure.
I think that's the best, yeah.
Because that's his mantra right now is make America healthy again.
We could use that.
He wants to redo the school lunch programs and get the junk food out of the schools and
the anti-Michelle Obama.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great administration, and he's going to have one hell of a strong cabinet.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe Elon gets a cabinet position.
We
That,
love our immigrants.
yep, absolutely. Well, so that's going to be interesting to watch for
And
sure.
our African Americans, it should be said. It should be said. Elon is an African American at this stage. So fair. So he's got the Trump.
Exactly. He is a true African American.
He is. So Trump will have already the most diverse. So all of you people out there, when you go to talk to Democrats, why Democrats should vote, because Trump will probably have the most diverse, politically and racially, the most diverse cabinet in American history at this point.
Yep. And she's out there stumping for Trump and going after Kamala.
Kamala.
She's anti-freedom. She's pro-censorship, pro-abortion, and pro-war. That's what Gabbard said of Harris. And
Pretty good description.
she's going to be firing with all cylinders at Miss Harris and Mr. Tampon Tim. So it's going to be a very interesting last 13 days in the campaign, and we are primed. We are primed for victory, but we don't take anything for granted. Get out and vote. Take people to the polls with you. I can't say this enough. Get out and vote. Take people to the polls with you. If you know someone who can't carry their ballot to a polling place, a box, offer to take it for them. Remember, different states have different laws on carrying ballots, so make sure you make yourself aware. In Colorado, you can carry up to 10 ballots that are not your own. Do not go over that, and make sure that you hand carry them to the nearest box and drop them. There are cameras everywhere, so you're not going to get away with anything stupid, so don't even try it. And that goes for you Democrats out there too.
Yeah, especially, unfortunately, just judging by history.
Yep. So welcome, Tulsi Gabbard, to the Republican Party. It's been a long time coming. The first time I saw her, I said, she's not a Democrat. I couldn't believe that she was a Democrat. And, she was actually by registration, but no more.
But you remember back in the day, there used to be principled Democrats like that. They were trying to change the party. They used to exist. They really did.
The old Democrat Party is not around. It's been co-opted. It's a Marxist party now. They might as well change the name to the Marxist Party of America.
Well, hey, that does kind of segue into what the next story is going to be, though. So don't mean to spoil it
absolutely.
or anything. But yeah, you're definitely right.
All right, so guess who we're talking about now?
Well, you mentioned him before.
Tampon Tim.
What a great name.
It has just been reported that Tim Walz, ready for this, welcomed Chinese Communist Party officials into his Nebraska classroom when he was a teacher in Nebraska.
Oh, my goodness.
The way that he welcomed them is that he was working as a teacher in the 1990s. And basically what he was saying is that he was wanting them to observe American education system. Yeah, that's why you brought him in, Tim. Try again.
So, I mean, let's believe Tim for a second, right? Let's believe him. So we want Chinese officials to study our education system. I don't think they're going to study it for the purposes of improving their own education system. I think they would obviously do it to influence our education system. I mean, that's communism 101 right there, is infiltration. We could go into the Little Red Schoolhouse and that was what the nickname of it was called, that Barack Obama's mom was in. I'm not, you probably know what I'm talking about, Hugo. Maybe some of our audience does. But Barack Obama's parents had long Communist Party histories, and it started from the schools. So, hey, if he's willing to open the gates when he's a teacher to the Chinese communists, what the hell is he going to do as vice president? I mean,
Exactly.
my goodness.
So this was a delegation of 3 educators from Southeast China,
Re-educators, maybe.
and basically uh, they were they came to his social studies class to study the education system, according to an unearthed Alliance Times Herald article. However, the delegation included CCP officials who at the time worked for an institute serving a Chinese influence and intelligence agency. In other words, the Chinese CIA,
Yeah.
according to a Democratic Convention review of Chinese government records. So, uh, everybody knows his long-standing relationship with China, and which has come under scrutiny by people who have a brain,
Not
and
under enough scrutiny, if you ask us.
apparently not, because how anybody can just dismiss that. I don't know what's wrong with some of these Democrats these days. I mean, these kind of people just boggle the mind. I don't know how they can call themselves Americans and allow for this kind of activity from one of their own nominees when when we're in a time that we are fighting China. Basically, they are an adversary. I don't care what people
No,
say. They may
hugely.
be a trading partner, but trust me, if they could, they would shut us down overnight,
I,
and and in the sense of wanting to take over. That's not that they would shut us down to nothing. They want control,
yeah.
and that's what their end game is. And people need to understand what is really going on geopolitically around the world.
Well, I mean,
People,
during World War II, the Nazis and the Soviets traded with each other right before they went to war. Just because you're trading doesn't mean you're friends. So,
exactly.
sorry about that. Go right ahead.
No, that's exactly right. Even kind of wacko Christopher Wray, the FBI director, has been requesting information on any Chinese entity or individual with whom Mr. Tampon Tim may have engaged or garnered or partnered. So
Well, clearly
he's
he hasn't
under he's
disclosed it.
under FBI review now. Do I think anything's going to happen to him? Not
No.
while it's controlled by this left wing party, but when we elect President Trump, there's going to be a new sheriff in town, and a lot of things are going to be investigated and uncovered,
As there
because
should
we
be.
need to know who is with us and who is not with us.
And who's bought? That's the
Yep,
that's a big question. And we need to find out. And we're gonna.
yep. Well, that's one of the biggest stories of the day, in my opinion. I did not know about. I knew that he had had involvement in taking his class over to China for excursions and field trips, I guess
God
you would
knows
call.
what, basically.
Yeah. For what purpose, I don't know. There's only one thing that China is good for, and that is propaganda. Uh, their own people live in fear.
They
It's a
keep
great
Walmart in
country.
business, I guess, you know? I
The
mean,
people, the people there are good people.
wonderful people.
We're talking about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and they're the ones that rule with an iron fist. And that's why the people kind of, I guess you would say, go along to get along. But trust me, the minute somebody has an opportunity, they escape from there.
They do. And when they don't actually, I don't know if you know this, Hugo, actually, but there's a saying among the young people in China. It's a whole lifestyle, and Western people, you might see analogous an idea to this in Western youth. They call it lying flat. That's what they call it. Their lifestyle is lying flat, doing the bare minimum to just get along. because they know that no matter what they do, they could rebel, they could do all kinds of things. It won't change. So in their mindset, the only thing they can do is wait for more favorable conditions to change the government arising. And I think you see that in a lot of young people today. But in America, we don't have to wait. We have the vanguard that's changing and restoring America here. But it's really sad, isn't it? Other countries have to wait for their Trump, for their savior, for their person politically to show up. So that's their philosophy, lying flat, just waiting in life until something comes along and helps them. That's the mentality of a lot of young people in China
Well,
today.
it's no secret that they're actively subverting us.
Oh yeah,
and
the government. It's
and they're, they're with this TikTok thing and these other activities that they've been engaged in for years. Um,
buying up our
some
land and
some people want to act like Neville Chamberlain and stick their head in the sand, but
we know how that ended.
other people are aware and they're not going to stand by idly and watch it, which makes this election even more important.
Yes, that's
We
the
have
theme.
got to turn the tide and protect America and Americans and stop this nonsense of trying to coddle up to sworn enemies who basically only have one goal. And anybody that doesn't understand that, then I'm sorry, but you've been duped.
No, it's true. In Mexico, they had a saying among certain Catholic parties. They said, "You don't find salvation in foreign governments. You find it in the Lord Jesus Christ."
Yep. And a lot of the people that come from China tell the same stories. I remember Ivy Liu, our friend.
Yeah, shout out to her. A very great companion for the RNC. They know what freedom is.
So, we've been talking about the October surprise, and one of the things that that is commonplace because it's funny how the October surprise is always against Republicans, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's funny. It must be the media or something.
How come there's never an October surprise about a Democrat candidate?
Because Democrat candidates are perfect angels who do nothing wrong, like cocaine or corruption or anything like that. Throwing guns they're not supposed to have, or nothing else.
Oh, you're not talking about the first son, are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if we had knowledge of a certain laptop, we might not even be dealing with President Joe Biden right now, anyways. So,
Yeah.
the October surprise in 2016, you remember, was the whole locker room talk. You know what I mean? And that was absolutely jack nothing. Hey, I grew up in locker rooms. Okay, there's worse things that could be said in private between gentlemen, okay? People are very sensitive. They're always sensitive. And that didn't stop Trump in 2016. So, but what they did here, Hugo, it boils my blood because it hits very close to home. I think you'd agree.
Yeah. Well, this so-called October surprise comes from none other than the left-wing rag called The Atlantic. It's a magazine. I believe they're published out of Atlanta. I'm not positive. But they want to, they came out with this story that basically said that President Trump disparaged a deceased veteran and her family and refused to pay for her funeral.
Oh, yeah. That sounds just like the man, right? No.
Talk about lies. I mean,
and to dig that up, think about the family. Think about the family that now you have to relive all of this in a media circus. That's horrible.
And guess what? The victim's sister and numerous Trump officials, however, have come forward to dispute the story as false.
Yeah, this was way too far. People couldn't stay silent on this one.
Vanessa Guillen was a 20-year-old Army private and daughter of Mexican immigrants, was brutally killed by a fellow soldier at Fort Hood in Texas in April of 2020. Her remains were burned and weren't found until 2 months later. In the aftermath, of the gruesome murder, Trump met with the Guillen family and said he would provide financial assistance for her funeral. The Army also launched an investigation into Fort Hood, which resulted in the firing and suspension of 14 commanders and other leaders and the termination of the base's commanding general. I remember seeing this story. I think it was on either 48 Hours or Dateline. I can't remember which, but yeah, it was a horrific story about a young lady who basically had been getting harassed, and she stood up, and then this clown ends up kidnapping her and murdering her and then burning her body. I
It's
mean, it's
disgraceful.
got a real gem. So, President Trump expressed outrage at the Guillen's funeral. Or no, this is what they're saying. They're saying
Yeah,
that President Trump allegedly expressed
very
outrage
allegedly.
that Guillen's funeral cost $60,000, and that it doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a effing Mexican. Yeah, right.
Well, number
How
one,
is
that's
Goldberg's signing anonymous sources portrayed the meeting?
that's
Uh,
disgusting.
that how disgusting you know the does it have to be? I mean,
Well, it's not only disgusting, but it's stupid because we'll probably mention this later. Is that her sister? The family came out and said, they didn't come out and say no, he didn't pay it. They didn't even. They said that's BS. I'm sorry, but it's worth it. This, first of all, $60,000. That is about the cost of a funeral. Honestly, like between burial and everything, that sounds about right. They put frickin' George Floyd in a golden casket. How much did that casket cost alone? No, I think Donald Trump was fine to pay a 60,000. He would have been fine with that. This is a man who gives $100 bills at the grocery store. Like, this is one of our soldiers. He would not have found this not worth it. Number one, and also, who refers in a disparaging way to a female as an effing Mexican? Like, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of disparaging things about Mexican women. Not typically have I ever heard it say, "Oh, it's effing Mexican." Like, I've heard a lot of that's Mexican dudes. That's how you might refer to them. But I refuse to believe that somebody in anger, that's what they're going with. That they're actually a mean, horrible person. There's a lot of names and
yeah,
stuff that you can
that
come up with.
doesn't jive with President Trump's character,
It doesn't
because he's
pass the smell test.
there are so many stories of how gracious and caring he has been to people he doesn't even know, and
You wouldn't
he
quibble
doesn't
about
he
that.
doesn't like reports about his charity and his compassion to be reported. He does it in private. He doesn't make it a photo op. He doesn't look for accolades. He basically does it out of the goodness of his heart. And every one of those times, it has been right out of his own pocket. There are numerous stories that I've
He would have
read
paid for
about.
this out. Yeah, he would have paid for this out of his own pocket. If he needed to. I mean, we had the Gold Star families of the people that Biden abandoned in Afghanistan there, and if he would say this about poor Vanessa, why wouldn't there be stories about that from those families? We have stories about Joe Biden. This is projection because Joe Biden was. This is the kind of stuff that Joe Biden would say, not Trump. He was the one looking at his watch on the tarmac, not even saying the names of the people who were fallen. So, it's amazing Mr. Goldberg decided to look inside in order to insult others, and lie
Yeah. Well,
about it. It's
this clown has a
gross.
history of lying.
Not surprised.
Um, Kash Patel was one of President Trump's national security officials, and here's what he said. He said, as someone who was present in the room with President Trump, he strongly urged that specialist Vanessa Guillen's grieving family should not have to bear the cost of any funeral arrangements, even offering to personally pay himself in order to honor her life and sacrifice. In addition, President Trump was able to have the Department of Defense designate her death as occurring in the line of duty, which gave her full military honors and provided her family access to benefits, services, and complete financial assistance.
Which that's a godsend alone. Like, that's beautiful.
That's the truth. So Mark Meadows was his chief of staff at the time, and his spokesman Ben Williamson said that he sent the Atlantic a full comment regarding the effing Mexican remark. The outlet, however, paraphrased it as denied having heard Trump make the statement. President Trump absolutely did not say that. He was nothing but kind, gracious, and wanting to make sure that the military and the U.S. government did right by Gloria Guillen and her daughter Vanessa Guillen, Williamson said in a screenshot of the apparent text he sent prior to the story's publication. It says, on the left, I sent Atlantic a comment saying President Trump absolutely did not say that. And on the right, Atlantic translated that comment to didn't hear Trump say it.
Yeah, so a categoric denial versus a vague, no. So, the media is dishonest even when it's caught being dishonest.
Well, they're nothing if they're not dishonest. That's for sure. Nothing that comes out of these left-wing rags, communist propaganda. I don't care. People think this is the truth. These people are sick. They are demented, and they are fooling a lot of Americans into believing stuff that isn't even true. Just this kind of a story alone to me would mean that honest Americans, people that believe in the truth, would just run away from this party because of this kind of stuff. This is just beyond the pale, that they would use the tragic death of an American soldier and a family who has been grieving, and then resurrect it for political purposes. This is sick. This is beyond sickening. And I hope that proper justice comes to this magazine. I hope they get sued into oblivion.
Pull a Nick Sandman on him, like when he sued CNN. I mean, we got to start taking bites financially out of these people, because this is I can't name the crime because I don't want to make any aspersions, but this is something worth justice.
I gotta say, man, I've seen a lot of October surprises, and this is one of the most despicable ones that I've seen.
And obviously not true one too. Like,
it's totally false. 100% false. But you won't.
It's ridiculous.
You won't hear that on The View or any of these other places. They're going to run with this story, and they're going to try to ram it down the throats of voters, and some, unfortunately, will buy it.
And, like they bought the losers and suckers comment, or all the other lies that they made about him. But the only difference I want to say, Hugo, is I think this one might break the mold, because we actually have the family that is being lied about here who is standing up for the truth. And breaking a lie is very useful for helping people understand what trust actually means to the media. There is no trust. They don't care. They need you to believe them. Once that trust is broken, it's done. And in our community, we rely heavily on TV news still. We still rely heavily on the mainstream media because we don't have outlets like ours being vastly available to the general public, which is why we also ask all of you watching and all of you at home to please share with your family, share with your friends, share with your social media networks to get us more traction, because there really isn't a lot of this from the Hispanic community to the Hispanic community. They expect our people to believe this lie. We need to fight back. The Guillen family is fighting back after their fight has been long over. To Trump, this woman was not a Mexican. She was just an American hero. The race didn't matter. So if the Guillen family is standing up, despite the pain you could imagine them going through, all of us can stand up. If you hear this, smack it down. Share the truth. Make sure people know this is BS. Trump didn't say this. And we know that.
Yep. That's for sure. All right. Now we come to some further election news, and lo and behold, surprise, surprise, surprise. Maricopa County in Arizona is in the news again.
Oh, Candyland.
And guess what they're saying?
Oh, I have an idea, but why, Hugo, why don't you spoil it for us?
Well, they're saying that it will take nearly 2 weeks to tabulate the 2024 election in Maricopa County.
So start getting on it now, you lazy bums. Like, what the heck? They expect to do this again and announce that they're going to do it 2 weeks before the election?
Yep.
What a bunch of wonderful, nice people.
Yeah. County officials are asking for the community's patience. Maricopa County Deputy Elections Director Jennifer Lewer said
Sorry,
in a
fresh out.
press conference. This year, we do expect that it will take between 10 and 13 days to complete tabulation of all the ballots that come in. You got to be joking me, man. States with bigger populations count them the same night and have results. And these idiots in Maricopa County, I don't know how much more we can take from these people.
Well, you got to understand, Hugo, is they got to fraud more extra votes this time because of all the people who are voting for Trump this time around. They have to work harder. You want them to work unpaid overtime to fraud their election. I mean, that's just cruel and unusual, I mean, all joking aside, yeah. I mean, are you serious? Hey, we already figured out how much time we'll need, and we're letting you know we're going to take it. It's like, I don't know what are Republicans doing in Maricopa County is what I would love to know, honestly. Because
they keep getting shot down when they challenge stuff because the courts are just.
Oh my goodness!
The
whole system.
There's nothing going on there. No, nothing.
Then why do they need 2 weeks to do it? If there's nothing going on, why do they need more time to do it?
Yep.
Oh man! Well, most obvious smoke screen aside, we can win without Arizona. So screw you guys, anyways. But yeah. Good luck in Arizona. My goodness.
As of right now, early voting data compiled by the University of Florida. I don't know why they're doing it. They're in Arizona.
People in Arizona couldn't be bothered, I guess.
Show that Republicans have a 38,000 vote advantage in terms of early voting in Arizona. Good. So there's your answer right there. Yeah. Only mail-in ballots have been returned so far, but the data show that 41.9% of the early ballots have been submitted by Republicans, compared to 36.3% by Democrats and 21.8% by independent or third-party voters. So Arizona, considered a battleground state, is again expected to be a close race during the 2024 election.
Oh, my goodness.
State election officials in 2020 certified the race in Arizona for Joe Biden over President Trump by a margin of about 11,000 votes. So if we have a 38,000 vote advantage right now, that means the election's over. In the aftermath, Trump and other Republicans alleged that Arizona's election was marred by voter fraud, sparking a number of lawsuits against Arizona and Maricopa County officials that were ultimately dismissed. No, they were not dismissed. They were never heard.
Yeah.
These corrupt judges just tossed them because they didn't want to hear facts. They didn't want to hear evidence. They didn't want to see the truth.
Wasn't that the most frustrating thing? Because they rely on that distinction. The liberals, when they say, oh, we've never had our day in court, even on the matter. It's like, but they want to pretend that the judges have already heard everything and thrown everything out. Yeah, folks at home, don't let them do that.
You know how they like to profess that over 60 cases were heard in court and none of them had any merit, right? But guess what? Every one of those cases, there was no evidence presented because they weren't interested in hearing anything. Those judges dismissed them out of hand. They didn't care about the data, the evidence, or any other
Or they
proof.
just didn't want to be responsible because they would be the only judge who actually would say something. So it's like, there's a million reasons why they didn't step up and do what they should have done.
So,
Very sad.
in response to that little tidbit, President Trump is headed to Arizona, and he will be talking to the people directly. So, you've got the president focused on states, key states, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia. Those are the main ones. All the data indicates that President Trump has leads in all of those states. And the media is trying to downplay it, saying that it's basically a statistical dead heat. Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard that one before.
Yeah, we never heard that one before. Traditionally, President Trump has outperformed all the polls. Yeah. So every time they've shown, I remember in 2016, the day before the election, Hillary Clinton had an 11-point advantage.
Oh, I remember that too, yeah.
And then I remember the crocodile tears when the results came in and Hillary was defeated and she threw a tantrum worth, I don't know, umpteen thousands of dollars in the hotel she was living in. The people that saw it reported it. They said that she was fit to be tied. She was cussing and screaming and throwing stuff in the hotel room.
Just having a conniption.
And I can just picture that, because that's the kind of person she is. She tries. So I wonder if Kamala will be cackling on November 5th.
Just to herself in a corner, you know what I mean? Like,
and Tampon Tim will be pulling whatever little hair he's got left in his head. Yeah, this is not a good report coming out of Arizona. I'm hoping that,
jokes aside, that is something very serious we got to keep track of.
Yeah, this is but we're prepared this time. There's an army of people that are going to be in all these polling places, attorneys ready to file challenges, etc. So it's not going to be the easy path that they perceive to be.
Not at all. No.
And I feel very confident that all of this is going to work itself out. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but we have the trucks to run over those bumps this time around.
Yeah.
And I believe that the results will basically reflect the will of the people, and that is that no more Kamala.
No more Kamala.
No more Kamala.
Que bueno with Trump. Para Trump. That's what we need right here.
And speaking of Kamala.
and the Hispanic vote.
Let's talk about Kamala.
Do we have to?
So Kamala is out pandering for the Latino vote, as Trump hosts roundtable and Harris talks economy. Economy? What kind? Binomics? Yeah.
Creating an opportunity economy. It's an opportunity economy, Hugo. It's the opportunity to slave away for Democrat-aligned corporations while having 3 other jobs,
Yep.
Like a good lower class, like a good middle class existence, like she makes up.
So yesterday in Miami, President Trump hosted a Latino Americans for Trump roundtable at his hotel and resort in Miami Doral Country Club. This was hours before Kamala sat down for a television interview with Hispanic TV network Telemundo. I should say left-wing Telemundo.
Yeah.
Both candidates are making pitches to Latino Americans in the final 2 weeks of the. But guess who is actually making headway and has made headway? President Trump, in certain polls, has been shown to have 50% or more of the Hispanic
That's
vote.
amazing. When you think George W. Bush, and I think he had what, 12 or 16% of the Hispanic vote or something like that.
Now
Maybe it was more.
Bush got 43%.
40. My apologies. Right, I might be
Yep.
mixing it up with the black vote. This is astounding. I mean, it really is a huge switch. I mean, it
No Republican has ever had these numbers with Latino voters.
no,
None.
and as we were talking about earlier today, Hugo, by 2050, the Hispanic vote, I believe you said, will be the largest portion of the electorate in the United States.
Well, they represent that the prediction is that they'll represent about 1/3 of the electorate.
That's what it was.
And by the year 2060, it's going to be over 40%.
Right.
Now you ask yourself why? Well, Hispanics reproduce.
We like to do that, yeah.
We like to reproduce, and unfortunately, the white population has decided that they don't want to have babies. So,
And they've been, let's be honest, they've been browbeat a lot in this country with, anti-white racism, colonizer this and everything. So, I mean, some of this social engineering, especially in my generation, has taught white people, hey, you know what? Don't have babies. And that's honestly really, really sad. That's
well,
just very sad.
The young people in particular, they're not getting married, they're not having children, they're not leaving mom and dad's basement before they're 30 or over. So there's a lot of things going on in the dynamics there. So, and then of course, you can add in abortion and how many we're killing every single year.
Yeah, and that's targeted at the black population and the poor population. And
well, the cold hard truth: who is the top demographic that is aborted? Blacks.
Black babies.
Now, if that's not racist, I don't know what the hell is.
Right. I mean, and that's one thing about the Hispanic culture is that while there is abortion, absolutely, it's typically not treated the same way. There is a lot of feeling to keep babies. That's just something you have to deal with if you get pregnant as a young. It's a different culture, so there's a lot more systems and family in place to keep people together, and going through it. So it's very sad, the breakdown of the family and the black community and the white community is one of the saddest things, in my opinion, in American recent history, to be honest.
Yep. So that's what's going on with the president and his challenger with Latino voters, and
they're only now starting to get it right. It's like now in the final stretch. Now looking at the Latino vote,
I am going to be very. Yeah, I'm going to be very tuned in to the final number, but I would love to see President Trump get 50% or more, because that would send a reverberation across this country like it's never been before. And the leftists are going to be apoplectic. And then all President Trump will have to do is deliver on promises like he did his first term, and the next election, Republicans will grow that demographic even more, because Hispanics are traditionally conservative. We know that, and when you extrapolate what's been taking place over the last few years, you've got the economy, which is the worst in history, and you've got a president and vice president who seemingly haven't got a care in the world
or a clue.
Kamala goes around saying, Bidenomics. We're very proud of that.
We wouldn't do anything different. Oh gosh. My goodness. Yeah, you don't want to hear that. Oh, we're going to do nothing different for the next. Like, y'all loved the last 4 years, right? No, we really didn't. And Hispanics especially haven't. We look at the economic numbers, and Trump's mentioned this before, that their administration has been absolutely terrible for black and Hispanic voters and Hispanic workers, especially. The Democrats, you think, would know this, but they seem to forget about us when it's actually time to face the consequences of what they've done to us.
And you know what Hillary's going to be doing on election night?
What do you think she's going to be doing on
when
election night?
Kamala loses?
What do you think? Oh man. Oh man. Oh, Hugo, it's not Halloween yet. Oh man, that was scary. Oh, what the heck? I thought. Oh man, I had to check my door for a second. Like, oh my
I'm
goodness.
waiting to see. I want you to see who shows up in a Kamala costume
Oh, that'd be great.
at my door, and what I'm gonna do if they do is I'm gonna reach into their bag and take out candy, and when they ask why, I'm gonna say because that's what Democrats will do to you.
They'll take your candy. They'll take your money. Funny little backstage thing. We played this sound effect before. Actually, me and Hugo. I thought that was Kamala's laugh until literally just in the pre-show. So
We'll have her laugh next week.
for Halloween,
We're gonna add the laugh track.
we need the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wicked Witch of the East. You know what I mean?
Amazing, man. It's like, I don't know what to say anymore.
Well, I have one thing to say to Democrats, honestly. It's a really big thing. It boils my blood. Stop pandering to us while you're lying to us. I mean, because think about it, Hugo. They're lying in their media. 'Cause it's the Democrat media. They're lying in their media about our fallen soldier of Hispanic origin while trying to lie to us saying Trump will destroy your economy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a kick in the teeth, honestly. I think Hispanics are going to really respond to it because we hate being lied to. And when we find out, we don't treat things the same way. We don't just let things roll off of us. We remember. We'll forgive, but we don't forget of who we can trust. Hispanics now are learning, hey, we can't trust the media. And that's the grip that they had on us, just like with the black population. We're all breaking free because, hey, freedom is what America is about.
A couple of things I wanted to let people know about if you didn't know. President Trump is going to be on Joe Rogan on Friday.
Yes.
Joe Rogan, if you don't know, is the biggest podcast in the country.
Yep.
He has millions and millions of followers.
Mainly undecided voters, probably, too.
And that's going to be a very interesting podcast. So if you can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, make sure you tune in to Joe Rogan's podcast on Friday for his talk with President Trump. Another interesting tidbit, President Trump is joining Tucker Carlson for his live tour over these last couple of weeks. So he's going to be at a couple of Tucker stops that's on the tour. So look up the Tucker Carlson tour and you'll see where President Trump is going to be. So he's engaging two of the most popular people out there in the media.
Yeah, in the base and in the independents. That's amazing.
Exactly. And Tucker has a following. Somebody said his following is close to 80 million.
I believe it.
And I firmly believe that Tucker is one hell of a personality who I like his style. I like the fact that he speaks the truth and he doesn't back down from anything.
Well, and he'll also admit when he's wrong. That's something even more impressive if you think about it.
Well, yeah,
these days,
which is few and far between.
So he got integrity. That's the main thing. And he even went to the heart of the beast, all the way in Russia and everything. So he's not afraid, like some of these other journalists are, of the truth. He's not afraid of getting the truth from people.
Yep.
So man, that tag team, man, Joe Rogan and Tucker, man, we got a jam-packed week on the Trump train right now.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing to watch. So I encourage everyone to tune in and see how those go. And on the other side of the coin, we've got former President Obama going around trying to shame young black voters, and it backfired big time. Big time. They gave him the finger, basically. And
about time.
That's unheard of. That's unheard of for Obama. I don't know if that's gonna damage his psyche or if he's gonna have to go home to Michelle, and um, and get consoled because typically that doesn't happen for him.
Well, he can just feel better when Kamala loses and he's the last Democrat to have won a fair, a legitimately fair election, So
Yep.
everyone will be happy on election night, and we will be seeing all of you until election night. We might have something for Halloween election night, but you have to stay tuned.
We're at the end of another great show. We want to thank everyone for showing up tonight. Stay tuned next week. We have a very special guest. Watch for the announcement. And of course, 2 weeks from yesterday, we will all be watching the election returns. Hopefully you'll get to be at an election watch night party. Those are always fun. And we'll be announcing where we'll be on that date next week. So
absolutely.
Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in. Click the like button, subscribe. Send us some cash, folks.
Yeah, we have a donation button on our webpage, folks. Put some cash, you will see results.
Yep. Here's our website right here.
Yes.
See it? Right there. Yeah. So go ahead and give till you bleed, like they say.
But guys, you know how important the Hispanic vote is. Help us reach it.
No, seriously, folks. We appreciate you tuning in. We ask for your help and helping grow this show, get the word out. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, tell them to come watch the Boomer and the Millennial.
Absolutely.
And they'll be informed.
Every week, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, folks. We'll see you here, and we always appreciate you.
Thank you, and good night. God bless you. God bless America.
God bless America.